Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
Morning.
Good
How
morning.
is everyone? How are you all today? It is the Sick of This Show, Chronic Illness in Practice. Don't worry, it's just in your head, is our episode today. I'm Nick Paro. We're streaming here on Substack and YouTube, and I'm bringing over my good friends and co-host and
Hi,
returning
everyone.
guests and good friends Beth Cruz and Stephanie Wilson. Good morning, everyone. How are you three ladies today?
Morning. Doing well.
Good morning. I'm managing. Haven't taken a migraine med yet today. So
Oh,
Good.
good.
when?
Hello, glad to be back. I have been away from Substack for a few days because I was away on a trip for my cousin's wedding. So I guess, yeah, I'm doing good. I took a nice break from real life. Happy to be
You
back.
know, that's needed sometimes, I think, is taking a break from all the stressors of extra extra life that we don't always want. Um, well, I'm glad to have you back,
Thank
It's
you.
good to see you. You missed a great discussion we had last week, which was our discussion around the onset and the onset of our chronic illnesses. Um, and we're getting some good mornings in for you, from others in the chat as well, welcoming you back. Monica
Thank
and
you.
Courtney are welcoming you back in. Um, and so last week was the onset, and today is the next step after the onset, which is typically doctors and people and friends and colleagues and everyone else just going, it's all in your head. It's not that bad. You look fine. Um, and so I wanted to discuss that with the three of y'all and get your thoughts on how life has been around that for you guys, as well as for people in the chat. Please feel free to weigh in too. If you've had experiences similar or how they've gone, love to get chat feedback on that, and we can integrate it into our discussion as well. Um, so, Stephanie,
Yeah.
since you suffer from migraines, this
Yeah.
one is a little bit of a pretty pretty shitty sword for you, because it literally is all in your head most of the time. Um, but can you tell us a little bit about some of your experiences and what it's like being told it's in your head?
Absolutely. So I can't find the live stream on uh on the Substack. So if you can read out
I'll
anything
send it
that
in the chat here in Restream.
oh
There's a
okay.
little chat in our Restream window that you can click on. That'll bring you to the live.
All right, here we go. Um all right, so first time I think we all know a whole lot more about the mind body connection than we ever did before. So, um, so the first time I got it's all in your head, you must be imagining this, was when I was 8. And, um, and it upset me so much that someone would say to a little kid, all this pain you're in is is in your head. And probably the doctor said something about um, anxiety or stress being part of it, or like things that your head responds to, although by that point they didn't know that much about migraine. So this is me with an 8-year-old's memory. And um, but it was incredibly, incredibly upsetting. Um, and then since then, we've started to understand more about migraine, and how, it's a neurological disease. But what I get now is, so before my head starts hurting, my leg starts hurting. And sometimes it goes all the way up from like my hip all the way to my head and down to my toes. And I have asked every neurologist, and they've said never heard of that. Now,
That's funny because I feel a lot like that a lot of the time. So I've heard of it.
good, thank you. Yeah, never heard, like what? Like I'm telling you about it. Now you must
Right,
hear
lies
about
and slander. You're hearing about it first person.
it, right? So yeah, if they haven't studied it or heard a lot of people say it, then they discount it because it's not in their training, and that's hard.
Yeah. We have a question from the chat for you, Stephanie, on this from
Okay.
Little LT is, are your migraines genetically inherited, acquired from an illness or injury, or is it a part of something else?
So the propensity toward migraine is genetic. It can be made, that's like migraine as the primary diagnosis. It can be made much worse by injury and triggers. Um, there was a head trauma early on that might have, maybe a couple, have contributed, but the underlying propensity for migraine is genetic. And I have passed it along to my kid, for which I feel so guilty. But he says, at least you're able to know how to help me. So, so that's what I can tell you. There's an old now book called The Migraine Brain
Hmm.
by the woman who used to be my neurologist, Carolyn Bernstein, and that I think still is, aside from the fact that there have been new therapies since then, is a really good explainer on how migraine actually works.
I was looking to see if I had it because I have one called Stress Resets. Um, that's a really good book that my therapists had recommended at one point. Um, well, I think my private therapist and the group therapist that I go to recommended it. It's a great way to help reset. And for migraines, I know it's often can be a useful tool um, to find ways to reset. Have you ever tried cold shocking yourself? Um, there's a technique that I was taught in my therapy where it's basically like you're tricking your body as though you're going to do a deep dive into cold water. Um, where you would basically you cover your mouth and your nose with a very cold water, either towel, or you actually dump your face into the water really quick. It does like a super shock to your system. Um, and it's supposed to clear things up pretty well, as long as you're not prone to heart attacks and claustrophobia.
How long do you have to stick your head in for?
Pretty quick. It's like you stick your head in maybe 10, 15 seconds at most.
I've
And you
never
can
tried
do it a
it,
couple times.
but I will now. I
It's
mean,
a
I
great
walk
way to
around
shock the
with
system.
these headache hats practically all the time, and both my husband and my son, apparently my tell is that I start touching my forehead before there's any pain, right? They're like, does your head hurt? Not yet, but they both like, go bring me one.
Yeah, and little LT points out too in the chat, and I'll make sure I put the disclaimer. It can be dangerous if you're not doing it correctly, if
All
you
right.
do it too long. Um, but it's basically like an ice bucket challenge that
Mm-hmm.
you put yourself into for a couple seconds. And it's that adrenaline shock to your system that clears everything up.
I'll try it. Try anything. I
It
saw the
also
movie.
distracts. It distracts your well, I believe it distracts your nervous system because it's kind of like it's wired to feel pain a certain way. So it's kind of like if you go to a spa, and you go into very very hot steam bath or saunas, and then you go into cold. water. Well, that's a bit extreme, but still, it's kind of like it distracts you feeling from. It's like the I don't know if it's the pain receptors or they kind of like get whoops, like something else happened. Let's focus on something else. So
And make sure when you do that one, you do it in a plunging sensation, like you're actually going down to trick your body.
Oh, really?
Because
Okay.
then it makes your body think you're plunging into cold water. Like your brain does this weird like shock trick.
Okay.
That's interesting.
That is very interesting. I have not heard about that. So,
Yeah, apparently it's one of the most effective ways to kill stress and like the bodily reactions to stress if you're willing to let yourself go into a semi-shock state for a second, because that's what it is you're shocking yourself for a second. You have to be careful with it to not do it maybe alone the first time.
mm,
Is always
good
recommend have a partner with you so that if
good
you
point.
say pass out or something, there's somebody there with you. Um, I've passed out from stuff before, not this, but when I took off a bandage after my first knee surgery, and the only reason I didn't need to go in for a follow-up one like immediately was because my wife was standing there right next to me and she caught me as I came down. And I'm not a light person, so I was lucky, but don't do these things alone, just in case.
got it. I'm already like picturing how I could make this like work it out in practice. So I'm gonna.
If you do it, then let us know afterwards how it works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally will.
Yeah. And if it doesn't work, let me know too, because then I can stop recommending if it doesn't work. But if it
Well,
does help, it's at least for you anyway. I won't have to recommend it again for you.
oh, okay.
I'll put that brain reminder in there. Be
Yeah,
like,
no, like
Stephanie
because
already knows
different
this.
things work for different people. Somebody in the chat said craniosacral therapy helped them. I've done that how a ton of times. Like, different things work for different people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Sesso? In
Hmm.
terms of like the having been told it's all in your head, um, and what because you were saying at the opening before we got on that you haven't experienced it as much as the rest of us.
Yeah, I believe so. Is it because I'm in Canada and I don't know, like our healthcare system is, well, I find it's pretty good. And or also being surrounded by people who are very understanding. I guess, but maybe if I think back of my younger years, where I mean, I've had a pretty hard life if I think back of my, because of I had a serious mental health issues in my immediate family. So of course, people wouldn't say to me like, "Oh, it's all in your head," when they would actually observe what was going on. Me being stressed and me being having to take care of so many things for my family. So I guess that was I mean that was before I had a lot of pain as I had a lot of stress. And then when my dad first, my brother died and then my dad died, it's as if people are like, I don't know, maybe when there are external factors, that are pretty obvious that explain, like, oh, this person has had so much trauma, like no wonder. I wonder if that's what they say. Like they wouldn't tell me to my face, right? Like, oh, well, it's pretty understandable, so, and I haven't been on the work in the work field for a while now because I resigned when I changed my life around and basically got into a new relationship and with a recomposed family. So I haven't had to face like I would say more like external, people don't necessarily know me or know my story, uh but it's interesting because I would be worried about that. Like, what would people say? I mean, I remember being um trying to go back first when I lost a baby, and then my brother died, and then had like this whole like almost 5 years, then going back to school. And when I tried to switch jobs, then my one of the question in my interview was, what happened, during those 5 years? Like, what were you doing? It's like the dreaded question. So I mean, back then I was feeling good. So it was easy to sort of like, I went, well, this happened, this happened, this happened. The person was like, okay, so the whole, like, it's all in your head. I've had so many events happen to explain, like, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's so I guess it's maybe that is why I haven't that so many. It's been a long time since I've heard that, for sure. So I feel it's I have a lot of sympathy for people who have been told these things, because I mean, it's all in your head. Because I mean, like you said at the beginning, for sure it's all in your head, but the way that the nervous system and the brain works is so complex. And I mean, maybe I'm also, because of all my studies, because I do have a master in psychology and, experience, I'm pretty good at articulating things. So I guess I have some sort of situation that can explain too, but I do understand, like I've had I've been on, for example, support groups for fibromyalgia from the start. I mean, I don't necessarily go on them many, but it's a good start, if you want to have information, for example, about a specific illness, and people will be like sharing information. And I remember seeing that, like, often, like there are posts, like, people will post articles, and they're like, well, how do you react? What do you say? So I would suggest, if you like, for example, I don't know, Stephanie, if you've been on for example, like a Facebook group, like you can post anonymously, but it's like a closed group where you can actually talk about chronic migraines and see, what people say and how it goes for them. And sometimes we get a lot of information. So
I haven't done that in a long time. I did, 10 or 15 years ago, and then you
yeah,
kind of cycle through, and
yeah.
there's a smaller group that was closer, but then, yeah,
Oh
it is
yeah.
a way to find the people.
Mhm.
But yeah, so so well, I just want to thank you for telling your story, so.
Yeah, me
Oh,
too. And also, I think before you
thank
go
you.
on real quick, is I think maybe too it's partially the difference between US and Canada, and that there
Mm,
might be more openness in Canada around approaching chronic illnesses because healthcare is less of a capitalistic system in Canada and more of a care system. It
yeah.
is still capitalistic in a lot of ways, just like most things in Western society are, but um, I think Canada has a more socialized approach to healthcare than we do. So it's more about preventative and like actually caring than emergent and like responsive care that the US is.
I believe so. And when I see people here kind of complaining and bitching about the healthcare system, I mean, I'm like, yeah, but if you start traveling and see how other things are, you know, I mean, it's always. But yes, I find that a perspective. If it's smaller, then it's easier to, kind of like just focus on the negative. But so you're right, Nick. That has to do
Yeah.
something to do with it. And I sorry, I didn't mean to go on off on a tangent, but it's kind of hard to explain, and like my story is so. I guess my pain is so much integrated with drama, so it's like, and I believe it's probably is. I mean, there's, I was talking in the chat, like there is psychosocial. Usually, when you try to explain a disorder, so biological would be like you have possibly like genetic, or it's biologically you have your sort of like wired maybe to be more likely to feel things or react to things biologically in a certain way. But then if you got the social triggers, like let's say you lose your parents at a young age, or and then psychologically will be his also how you've learned to deal. Cognitively, behaviorally. I mean, sometimes, the way you react to pain will also be influenced at a young age by your parents. It's something that can be transmitted. Like, if you have seen your parent, well, being in pain for most of their life because they also have a chronic illness, maybe that you are going to be more understanding, or so it's very complex, I find.
It
And
is.
I'm also getting some notes in the chat right now before we go on commenting about the last thing, saying it is unfortunately more common that chronic chronically ill folks in Canada also suffer from the it's all in your head thing. So I think it's more just a Western stigmatism
Oh.
in general, maybe than US Canada or US Mexico or something like that, or even US Europe. I think maybe it's more of just a Western stigmatism because we can't work, we're less usable for people.
Mm,
So it's stigmatized against us, and so it's all in our head because that's the only way it keeps working is if you think it's in your head, then nothing's really wrong, or they
Right.
convince you that it's in your head.
I would love to get some perspective from the Asian side of the world, because if you look
Yeah.
at Chinese medicine, it's so different
Hmm.
than,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
that would
that's
be
true.
to see,
That
like,
would be
what if
very
they,
interesting. Somebody want to do like a dissertation on that and get back to us?
Yeah, someone please go do a PhD study for us. We'll be here in what, 2 years, couple years when you're done,
7 for me.
a
or
PhD is
more.
like 5 or 6 years, Nick,
Maybe
minimum.
my friend did his in two when he was
Where?
after graduating.
In England?
Um, no, in the US. He finished his undergrad and PhD and master's and PhD in six.
Yeah, there's had to be a lot of like
Yeah,
merging
he
of
was
stuff.
I think it was Swarthmore, so he was pretty smart. Like he was a smart dude. Um, um, uh, yeah, off tangent. Anyway, Beth, how about you? How about you're in the head?
Yeah, it's in my head. Yeah, I went through that, and going through a lot of physicians, a lot of doctors trying to find out what was wrong with me. Um, One doctor saying, "Oh, well, I don't know why that doctor told you that. Shouldn't have told you that." I did not have the inflammation markers. I still am not showing inflammation markers, but when you go into a doctor and you're in so much pain and you can't walk, and they're like, "Well, you don't have the markers for inflammation." I don't care if I don't have the markers. I still have the pain.
Mm,
So yeah, going through that wasn't easy, and just being tossed around quite often, and it's really hard if you don't have a good team. So right now I feel like I have a better team of doctors than I
mm,
had in the past. But yeah, being told that it's in your head when you're in excruciating pain, or being told, "Do you have anxiety? Are you under a lot of stress?" Well, yes. Yeah.
Yes, the
But
answer.
that's not, yeah, that could be triggering it for sure. So I think that's the hardest thing is to not be heard. Um,
mm.
so yeah.
Because
Yeah.
then not only do you have pain, but you actually feel so bad about not being believed that you have pain. It's like you have twice the pain, basically.
Right.
Right, because when you come in, like I went in three times, I have had to have my leg, them check my leg. I will have severe pain. I won't be able to walk. I'm limping, crying. And they've ultrasound it like 3 times. And they're, but when you're in the ER, they're looking for a blood clot and they're making, oh, there's no clot. But then they look at you like, "Are you trying to get drugs?" And it's like, "No, I don't
Hmm.
want drugs. I want you to tell me what is happening and why." And they just haven't been able to, really, other than the psoriatic arthritis, now fibromyalgia. And yeah, fibromyalgia, And some of these diseases, you can look at someone and you don't see something physically wrong. And I think, just like Stephanie, you don't see Stephanie's headaches, but they're there. And so, really having people listen to you. If you, again, I've said it before, if you don't have a doctor that is hearing you, keep going, keep trying to find somebody that's actually hearing you. And so you're not hearing, it's in your head. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And I just want to say one thing, that since COVID, I think there's more understanding, which of course the research is going to stop, that some viruses have lifelong lasting effects, like long COVID.
Sure.
So that can be part of the start of a lot of things, like, a childhood virus could mess with your T cells and your memory cells and all of that. You would never know. And then all this pain could start, because that's what they're saying now about measles and why it's so bad.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Stephanie, I just wanted to tell you, I mean, there is this immigrant from Africa. His name is Boucard Diouf in Quebec. He is an amazing, I mean, he's a biologist, a comedian. I mean, I just admire him so much. And he had malaria when he was a kid. Or was it malaria? No, polio. He had polio because in Africa right there, I think he probably didn't get the vaccine or so, I mean, and nowadays, he was doing I saw him in a show, and, he actually, he was walking around, but he can't do like a stand-up comic show. Like, he has to sit, and then, it's like he has to adapt his show. And when you know that he has those, do you say, séquelles? How do you say that? Like, well, I don't want to say leftovers, but it is a consequence of an illness that wasn't treated when he was little. So I hear what you're saying is,
Yeah.
And viruses can't really, I mean, there's only recently that we've started to learn how to treat viruses. So like any one of, I mean, there's the infections that you can treat with antibiotics, but then there's the viruses that just have to like run their course. So
that reminded me, my daughter, I think she was 10 at the time. She's in her 30s now, but when she was 10, she had an ulcer. And of course, the first thing everyone said was, "Oh, she's been under stress." No, she had H. pylori, which can cause an ulcer. And really getting people to understand that, no, my child wasn't being put through stress. She had something that caused this. There's just, I don't know, that made me think of that. It being, in your head.
A trigger. Yeah, there is a real physical, event that basically causes your body to change. If I can sort of interrupt you, Beth, because I was thinking, what about you, Nick? What about you?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yes, part of my like getting, even as I started all of this, was it's in your head. Is like my knee surgeon, when I went in the day after I re-injured my knee, and he sort of brushed it off as though it was nothing, and when didn't see it, didn't care, and I had to fight to get the care, like any sort of basic care, like a knee brace or something like that. So it was pretty much without like having to say it's in your head, but it was just like, yeah, that's not real. Why are you asking me to do more for you? And then I had to see a patient advocate to get the care that I needed to get an MRI and more than just an X-ray done, when it was authorized that I do that, and go in and have an ER doctor tell me that I wasn't like that things didn't happen because somebody else wasn't going to get paid. But that person who told me that they weren't going to look at it, that wasn't going to get paid, brushed it off as though it was in my head. And it kept it always feels like that anyways half the time because half of my in pains are non-visible anyway. Actually, well, almost all of them are non-visible.
Mhm.
Um, and so I got it a lot at work, um,
Mm.
from people of like if I'm drifting off in meetings, like I even pre-warn people that I'll drift and like I'll lose thought halfway through, um, things like that. And it's always like, oh, you're not paying attention. You're just not paying attention to us. Or, and that's always to me, that's it's in your head is you're not paying attention. You're never paying attention. You always miss what we're saying
Yep.
right now in these meetings, or you never come prepared, even though I do. Um, and so, yeah, so
Mhm.
the it's in your head stuff really bothers me a lot. That's why I brought it up. Um, and because fibro has been considered a um, female predominant disease or female only
Yes.
disease for a long time, even
Mhm.
Yes.
though it's not, obviously. When as I've been trying to even go through the diagnosis process, it was very obvious that they didn't want to continue down that path. And had I not called every 2 weeks after an appointment, like
Mhm.
on on a schedule over and over again to get follow-up, they would have stopped caring for it ages ago. And they would have just been like, no, you're just here's some muscle relaxers, you're fine. Um, um, so yeah, that's that's a lot of my stuff. But the biggest one was the
Mhm.
ER provider telling me that somebody else wasn't going to get paid, which basically
Wow.
was, it's all in your head. You're really not that hurt. Um,
Mhm.
if you were really that hurt, somebody would have said something, or that provider would have said something, or others would have brought you down to the ER. Yet while I'm here demanding help, you are isolating me, putting me into a room, and not caring for me and telling me it's really not happening or there, nothing to worry about. Um, which, as I've said a couple times, led to me in that ER room telling a doctor that I would rather be dead than listen to them tell me how little my life was worth in front of my kids. Um, and so this one I really hate, um,
Mhm.
because it's done damage not just to me but also to my kids. Um, and so I think it's all based to me, it's again, it comes back to money on all of this, is it's all based on capitalism and greed and the fact that healthcare and at least in America isn't about health, it's about profit, and it's
Mhm.
about not and it's about putting us on prescription drugs. um, and ever since I've gotten the diagnosis, whenever I go in for something at the ER, they're always like, they always look at me like, hey, are you here for drugs? And the first thing I always tell them is, I do not want opioids. I do not want these. I just need you to give me answers. Like, I need you to
Yeah.
look. I go into my doctor's appointments and I'm like, I just need you to keep looking, to keep investigating so that we can find something that we can figure out that maybe we missed.
Mhm.
Um, and that's the hardest, is getting into that part, is like getting doctors to then believe that they need to keep doing more studies
Mhm.
and more testing. um, and for most people that would be a death sentence financially to even get all of that testing. And again, I hate to say that I'm lucky, but I'm lucky because I'm a disabled veteran and I have health care in the US that is provided to me, which everyone should have a right to, not just veterans, but I have a healthcare system that is provided to me that's being attacked constantly and
Yeah.
being taken away from. Um,
Mhm.
and our doctors are being pulled away, and our nurses are being ripped out, and our care teams are being smaller. Since I moved to my new care team, my doctor basically brushed me off afterwards. Like, I asked them to do a follow. I was waiting like months to get a follow up on some testing I did. They looked at it and they're like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." I was like, "What? What do you mean, whatever?" Like, we've been doing this testing for 2.5 years. There's no whatever at this point, um,
Mhm.
which that that really hurts because it's really deflating.
Do you get the impression that because of the way things are, it seems like things are very much in silos when it comes to healthcare integration? I mean, and then you have to always start back from the beginning with when you go from a provider to another. The reason I'm asking is because right now in Quebec, they're really, I mean, I don't know about the other provinces, because in Canada, provinces, health is I mean, there is a Health Canada, but I mean, it's mainly um, managed by every provinces. So I couldn't speak for other provinces, but I know in Quebec, they're really trying to integrate, especially since COVID, like computer, sorry, like the tech system, to make sure that it's easier to have access to a file, right? Because let's say if you go to a clinic and you have this, then it's kind of like, how do you, because back then all the hospitals they all have like a system, but it was pretty much in a silo. And now, they're like trying to make that into a more accessible. So do you feel that that's hard, like having your health care information, I guess, moved from one to another?
I think for me, it's less stressful because mine is inside the VA to inside the VA. So they have access to the healthcare records and they don't have to gain
What about you,
access.
Beth?
But this
Um,
person, my provider, didn't even look prior to my
Yeah.
appointment. Like this was the first time they were seeing any of my file, was when I got in there and started talking. And they're like, oh shit, you have a lot going on, which was
Yeah.
why I said, yeah, I've been trying to get this forever.
Right.
I
Sorry, go
think
ahead, Beth.
I think they are trying to integrate out here the different healthcare software programs between the different, like one might be, I'll just give an example, Good Samaritan Hospital, which is run by Highlight. It's just, and then this doctor has a different group. So I think they are trying to merge them. So when you go in, they can say, yeah, I see this. They may not be able to see everything, but they are seeing more and more, which is good. And I think
In
it
my
is.
area too. Yeah.
Mhm. So you're not having to reinvent the wheel every time you go in to see the doctor. It is helpful.
The
Yeah.
problem I
If they
think
read
is,
it before you go in.
yeah, and
Good
I think
point.
part of the problem right now is it's really complex and the language, at least in the US, is very vague on when you authorize a healthcare provider to get access to your records, is who is actually getting access to those records in that healthcare office, and how private are they? Um, And so, plus on top of that is I think a lot of people are being more cautious about accepting those shared systems for healthcare access because the US government, at least in the US, because the US government is out to surveil us and actively hurt people.
Mm.
And they're using it for things like abortion tracking and personhood tracking just in general. And so I think a lot of people are becoming more untrusting of a centralized system like that. And yes, a centralized healthcare network system that could easily transmit records and data from provider to provider would be fantastic if there were the correct protections in place where only the authorized providers themselves could
Mm.
ever view that data. But there's loopholes that are getting put in there where it's anyone at the office could access that data, or any parts of that data that are not personally identifying health information can be accessed by someone who works at the company that
Mhm.
moves that data. And then they
Mm.
can begin aggregating things. And so there's no data privacy laws in the US. So people are really afraid of their data being stolen
Oh,
and
especially with what
manipulated.
happened. Ooh, with
Now,
what happened with
And it's
those. I
true.
mean,
mhm.
Well,
I
I
mean,
feel
I
like
got a
you can't
message.
avoid it at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, we got a VPN, which I had to turn off because it fucks everything up when I'm doing a live.
Mhm.
Like I don't, not only that, so we're under surveillance, but now so I'm on social security disability, which means I get Medicare. And SSDI has this back to work program, and they usually send you a thing every couple of years about like what are the last 3 doctors that you had, basically trying to figure out if you're still sick. And I learned very early on that if I basically write out month by month what providers I've seen, I don't get asked for a lot longer. But now the SSDI system and the IRS can talk to each other. So, doing small short-term work, but not like saying I can go back to work, because in the end it would be like less than almost not breaking even. I'm now worried that the IRS is going to go look at the SSDI records or vice versa and be like, oh, nope, sorry, you're done.
Yeah. And I mean, they keep talking about waste, fraud, and abuse, but what they mean is sick people needing health care, because Medicare is a service and not a
Yeah.
corporation that makes money. Government is a service that provides services, and services cost things. And we allocate those funds at when Congress passes a budget, which is, for those in the audience and not us here on this chat, or for anybody, is that it means that government is not there to make a profit. Profits require businesses and require least amount of cost for maximum amount of output. Services are maximum output for maximum cost. Like, services are not cheap. The military
Sure.
is a service. The post office is a service. We never complain that the military spends money every year because we've allocated those funds. But everybody complains when we spend money on healthcare and Medicaid and Medicare and things like that. Those are
Exactly.
services too, which cost things. And the more you spend, and the more if we were to spend it correctly, the healthier a populace is, the less expensive healthcare is. And the more service we get out of it because everybody is healthier. But we're not there yet. We still think of things in this country as, or we've been convinced that things that the government offers are businesses and need to make
Yeah.
a profit. But I think we need to, part of this for me is redefining things as services and what that actually means and how they serve us, and like taking away your healthcare because you might accidentally work either 2 hours, say, a week too much or 2 hours a week too few is bullshit. It's the work requirement is literally a way for rich billionaires and robber barons to squeeze more labor out of you and more money and time and energy out of you while telling you and gaslighting you that you're okay. It's companies' ways of saying it's all in your head.
It's a denial of your reality.
Yeah.
It is.
A complete denial of your reality.
Yeah.
That said, I totally agree with you, Beth. That said, Medicare is really good.
Yeah.
Which is why Medicare for all would be really awesome. Like,
yeah,
I can go almost anywhere. Mental health is a little bit harder.
Yeah.
And get the care I need. I mean, I have a supplemental and it's expensive, but it's fantastic. So,
Thing is, you're absolutely right, Nick. I'm sorry, I'm jumping in, Stephanie, because when you discuss, healthcare being a service, you have to realize that if you want people to be able to work for you, you got to invest in them. And investing in them is also taking care of their health. But that's the thing, when you look at private company, I mean, it's so competitive. They'll be, okay, well, you're able to work, I'll pick you. And of course, I mean, they're there to make money. And do you know what I mean? Like it's kind of understandable. But at the same time, if people were to just agree, okay, let's all get together and care for the ones that are not as fortunate or not as able, something happened, and they're not as, or maybe they was just either they were born that way. I mean, what do you do if somebody was born without a leg and they're not able to run the marathon? I mean, you just say, okay, well, too bad, fend for yourself. I mean, that's what you do in civilized country. Like, you have this kind of like a safety net, where you're actually everybody's well, that's what I think, but then it becomes ethics and beliefs, and will people agree to get together to provide those services and have a safety net for those who are not as fortunate as others, who might be able to be, oh yeah, I'm going to do this, and I can work like 14 hours a day, and da 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 da, and that's my choice. So I'm just like, but yeah, then I do agree with you, it should be Medicare for all. And then it should be separated, like in
We
a way that if you're
we never should have tied healthcare to work.
Yes.
That was a fail. And really, when you think about, you've worked so you worked so hard to build this business, small business, whatever, and now it's your job. You have to pay for everybody.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be a part of work. And it shouldn't be a part. I even as an employee, I'm not an employer, but to me, I just think that's really fucked up.
Yeah, you're right. If you're a small or medium-sized business, I mean, then you have to like pay so much. I mean, it's still, like it doesn't seem fair. I agree with you. So it's like,
And
anyways,
it's a form of slavery in the US. If we're going to be really honest about what words we use, is it's a form of slavery because it enslaves you to the work system where you are required to work to get something, to get health care,
exactly,
to stay alive.
If they jump back to pre-existing conditions, well, that for us is terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, because go back to you got to wait a year. You have a pre-existing condition before you can have coverage. Why? Which
is the dumbest thing too. Like, why would you take a sick person and then tell them, oh yeah, by the way, you can't get health care for the next year, so you're just going to get sicker and sicker.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's going to actually cost more and more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a way to make us destitute and make us enslaved. And people fear going to the doctors, which ends up making the doctor cost more because less people are going and they're not getting the funds.
And sicker people are going.
Sicker people are going, and you're not going for preventative checkups or things like that. And now people are going to be afraid to go get vaccines. They're afraid to take Tylenol, or they're asking about Tylenol and acetaminophen in general. They're coming like things like mifepristone, like putting fear into things that help women. Mostly it's about hurting women in the way that we're approaching a lot of the healthcare restrictions right now, because the things are all targeted at blaming women for being the problem. But it's just a denial of care. It is the most basic violation of the Hippocratic Oath, was allowing health insurance companies to have the final say on what was allowed to be done as a surgery or procedure. And it should have always remained in the doctor and the care provider's hands. And the insurance company should have to approve it, because I already pay the premium to use the healthcare. They should approve it and do it, because then it's less costworthy for everybody else, or costly for everybody else. But also, I agree, Stephanie, Medicare for all would solve a lot of problems. Just like I have always advocated, yes, the VA hospital system may not be the best. It's not the best because the US purposely makes it that way to give a case study on how socialized healthcare wouldn't work. Yet here we are still using it and it's still working, and it's the one of the best systems we have are the VA and Medicare, because guess what? The VA healthcare coverage is based off of your Medicare minimums and your Medicare costs and your Medicaid costs. That's what they base it off of. Um, and I think if we actually did the right thing, which was fold all those things in together, we can't, because lobbying is and corruption are legalized in the US, at least for now. But when we can take out the health insurance companies and make healthcare a right, I think that's only the first step in unwinding this. It's all in your head bullshit of you have to work until you die, and your chronic illnesses don't exist because we can't see them. So you must keep working. Is I think you're right, is the next step is we have to get rid of the right to work laws. They don't work. They're not real. They're punishment. Like the Find Out podcast guys say this all the time. There are no 20-something year olds sitting on their couches, or even 30-something year olds, me included, who are disabled using things like Medicare or VA healthcare or Champ VA, who are just sitting there and going, I'm gonna play my video games all day and I feel great. And I'm just gonna collect this check off of Medicare, because you know who doesn't get the money from any of those things? Us. We don't. The VA has never once sent me a check to then pay somebody else. It is always direct to the insurance provider, which means the insurance provider is the one that's the problem. Like, we want waste, fraud, and abuse removed. Get rid of the insurance companies. They are waste, fraud, and abuse. Then
Yeah.
maybe we might get listened to.
Yeah.
Maybe. And for another day, let's talk about some sort of universal basic income so that.
Ooh, absolutely. I love UBI. That's one of my favorite topics. I'd love to
so
talk
that
about that. I think
employment
maybe
isn't, yeah.
maybe that could be next week, as we talk how UBI would impact in a positive way those with chronic illnesses and disabilities, because universal basic income is a driving force that would do a lot of good for everyone. And for those who don't know what universal basic income is, it is exactly what it sounds like. It is the government as a service based on the economic output that all of us citizens have collectively provided to the government. They pay back monthly to each adult and a certain amount to every child. Yeah, Andrew Yang talked about it, but he didn't invent it. So let's not give Andrew Yang any credit. He just took a good idea and ran with it. He kind of sucks. He's really deep in the techno side of things, and the techno fascists suck. Um, that said, the one thing that we could really use right now is take AI and all of the generative power that it's going to have, and all of the income it is going to provide the US government and governments in general, is you would pay people every month just for existing, just for being alive. You
No,
give
they
them
do
a
that in Saudi
universal
Arabia
income.
because they have so much money from the oil.
What about
Mhm.
the tariffs, right? Where's that money coming in from the tariffs?
It's going right into Trump's crypto.
Mhm.
'Cause he keeps saying we've made all this money, but I don't think we means us. I think it
Mm.
means him and his family and
Yeah.
his little
Him and
coup
the
d'etat
grifters.
group of, yeah, they're all grifters.
They're all
Just
good.
like health
Someday-
insurance. It's a
some-
grift.
It is. Someday somebody needs to explain crypto to me.
Oh, I could try.
Okay, but not right now.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, so I think next week, everybody, we will be back again next week on Monday. Same time, same place, 11 a.m. Eastern time, 9 8 Pacific.
8 a.m. Pacific.
8 a.m. Pacific time. 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Every Monday we do a chronic illness chat. These my three guest co-hosts, friends, keep coming back for more. As well as everyone in the chat today. There's over 200 of y'all here with us. Thank you so much for being with us. I'm gonna see if this works.
Do
This
it.
sometimes does it on my side.
Oh, did it.
Yes.
Oh, I tried to do it on
Wow.
my computer and it totally didn't work.
I know, isn't it? It is such a simple thing, but it brings so much joy.
It does. It's so much joy. And before we go, since we started here just a minute or two late, can you guys all, starting from Stephanie to Beth to So, let everyone know where they can find you and how they can support you throughout all of this? I want to make sure that everybody gets supported as best they can through this whole process. So, starting with you, Stephanie, we're gonna switch off of mine if I can find your name again in my
That's
list.
okay.
And there you are, Stephanie. Where can people find you?
Freedomoverfascism.us goes straight to my Substack. And follow me. Everything is free. I don't have a paywall on anything, but if you can pay for a subscription, that would be awesome. And I have a lot of great conversations with a lot of people in the backlog, and I think you might be it might be really interesting.
Thanks. And please do, everyone, go subscribe to Stephanie, free or paid. It helps a lot. And share her work. She does amazing interviews. Love what she does.
Thank you.
Beth, how
And
about
I just passed 6,000 subscribers.
Van?
Mine.
That's amazing.
And it's all due to you guys too. A lot. I've gotten a lot of new ones in the last
I
couple
love
months.
it. I love it. I'm
Hey.
glad we can help build you up. That's what it's all about.
That is. Thank you.
You're welcome. How about you, Beth? Move over to yours.
Hi. You can find me at Beth Cruz. I think it's under Beth Cruz 16 on Substack. There is no paywall. Please follow me. I'm working on writing. I've been a little laxed on that this last month, but I'm getting back into the groove. So please follow. And
Thanks, Beth. And please do
support.
follow. We love pets.
Coyote.
It's
Thanks.
beautiful. Please do follow and support Beth as well. Free paid subs. Like I said, they help and help share the work. So how about you, my friend?
Hey, well, I am. I have to admit, too, I am a part-time Substacker, meaning that I would like to do this more often, but I am doing a lot of things too in my everyday life. But I do, as you can see on my picture, I am a world earthling. I love traveling when I can. I love nature. I love human connections. I actually do try to be online every Thursday at 8 with my good friend Kat, who is in the chat. So, and we do talk about, I guess we end up talking more about politics and how we're kind of, wanting people to get involved. Me being a Canadian feels like this is my way of getting involved. This is just connecting with everybody from, our northern atmosphere, because whatever happens in the States always comes up north, comes back, and we're like 5 years in delayed. I mean, right now there is a Maple MAGA movement, and it's like it really worries me. So yeah, just click on the little thing, and I mean, I'm not every day there, but I will respond, and I'm seeing this building slowly but surely. I have been very lucky to find you guys, especially Nick. Nick is a great. I mean, I'm always sad to see like how we are all going through sometimes difficult things, but seeing the beauty of human nature, coming together and connecting and being able to find solutions, because I believe that there are solutions to whatever problems there is, and don't give up. I mean, don't let whoever is telling you like blah 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 blah. You don't want to listen to them. They're negative. You have to hang out with the positive people. So let's do that. That's it.
Thanks, Soso. I appreciate you. And again, free and paid subs help blow up Soso's account too. She's doing a lot of great work, especially with Kat and their friend Dr. Lynn Litton. They have some amazing discussions.
Which time zone is 8 o'clock? Which time zone on Thursday?
Eastern time.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to try. I'm not totally with it yet, but okay.
Is it 8 o'clock Eastern?
Yeah, it's 7 Central. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Good clarifying. And then finally, mine, Sick of This Shit Publications. That's me, that's my home. I have my other one, Banner and Backbone, as well. But Sick of This Shit is my main home. I do a show Monday through Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Um, and shows throughout the day. So please come take a look. Join me for all my shows and my poetry. Put out a new poem this morning. Trying to get back into doing those much more often. Um, but that's my main thing, and I'm trying to keep these discussions going. So thank you everyone who's come with us today. Thank you everyone in the chat. Thank you to the three of you. Please join all of us. Free subs health. Go go become paid with everyone else. If you've got anything left for me too, please become paid with me. I'm running a 20% off sale, trying to get past 150 paid subs for the Sick of This Shit publications, and start getting closer to that 200 mark, and really make this thing full time. So please come support, come help, and we will see you all next week. And as I say on all my shows, is let's stop being sick of this shit, friends, and let's start doing this shit. So I'll see you all again tomorrow. Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Do it one last time, see what happens.
Oh,
There we go.
yeah, that's not fair.
Wow.
Yeah.
Here for you, Stephanie.